لا إله إلا الله محمد رسول الله.
الحمد لله الحمد لله حمدا كثيرا مباركا طيبا فيه مباركا عليه كما يحب ربنا ويرضى. وصلى الله على النبي المصطفى المجتبى صلاة تطيب بها القلوب وتكشف بها الغموم والكروب وتغفر بها الذنوب. صلاة وسلاما دائمين متلازمين إلى يوم جمع الثقلين. أما بعد فأعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. وما أرسلناك إلا رحمة للعالمين. وقال الله عز وجل: وللآخرة خير لك من الأولى. صدق الله المولانا العظيم. وقال النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم: إني لم أبعث لعانا إنما بعثت رحمة، أو كما قال صلى الله عليه وسلم. Respected brothers, sisters, I greet you all with the greetings of Islam, including those who may be listening through alternative means and devices near or far. This is the month of Rabiul Awwal, which is traditionally commemorated with programs up and down the country and the world, in fact, with either Seerah programs, Maulid programs, poetic verses, speeches, khutbahs, etc. The primary objective of this series of activities is to learn and apply the key lessons of the seerah of the best of creation sallallahu alaihi wasallam in the context that we find ourselves in. And this contemporary age is a very challenging age. It is an age that if you were to study the census data across the globe from one end to the other, it suggests that the world is drifting away to an era where there is no interest in religion. Religion is becoming less important in people's lives. That type of life where we wake up, we go to work, we live, we have fun, we die, we have a few holidays, and that's life. The purpose of life, the meaning of life, what is it that I exist for on the face of this earth, is slowly fading away. Acute consciousness about the purpose, the function of life is, we are blessed as believers within the verses of the Holy Quran. And in the verses that we have just heard, if we were listening attentively, Allah Rabbul Alameen has provided us a jolt to wake us up. In this age that I said, the IT revelation, has gripped us all. Perhaps there's nobody sat here, or most of us sat here at least, who will have a smartphone in our pockets. Most of us sat here will be using emails every day. Most of us sat here will be using Amazon, Meta, Apple, Microsoft. This is the IT revolution. These companies, known as GAMAM, as an acronym, GAMAM. G, Google. A, Apple. M, Meta. A, Amazon. And M again, Microsoft. This is just 5 companies of the world. You can add perhaps 2 others. These 5 companies, could anybody take a guess? What is the market value of these companies? Does anybody have any idea? Please don't take your phones out and check on Google. Does anybody any idea? Collectively, these companies have a big impact. Is there anybody here who's not heard of Google? Not heard of Amazon? Not heard of Meta, the old Facebook? Not heard of Apple? Not heard of Microsoft? These are companies that most people across the globe know, because most people across the globe have a phone. And these companies are owned by individuals. Let me share with you that they have a market value, not necessarily how much they make, have a market value of $7 trillion US. Now, do you know how much turnover UK makes? So you get an understanding of where is it that this world is going. And where am I going? UK economy, India's economy, these are known as first world economies. India's economy is on the bounce. You're looking at a similar figure. So they've got a whole nation on one side and you've got 5 individuals on the other side. Can you see the value of money now? Can you see the influence? The people I used to learn with, who are sat here, mashallah, they inform me there's something called influencers who are have an impact on YouTube. So I learned all about influencers on my journey here. And it's amazing. Through these means, how people can influence people's lives. Yet the one individual, the best of creation, sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, Allah Rabbul Alamin, sent into this world to influence everybody's life. Where is that person in our lives? Because if that person is in our lives, then that should brush off to other people. 7 individuals. 5 individuals, sorry. Let's leave the other 2 companies out. Collectively worth $7 trillion. Rasul alayhi salatu was salam, in the latter stages of his life as a prophet alayhi salam, when the treasures of the Arabian Peninsula were coming to Madinatul Munawwara and were there to be distributed by him. If he was to distribute anything for himself, was there any companion who was going to raise their hand? Allah had given him permission to do so in certain percentage. On one occasion, the treasures of Bahrain started flooding in. And this was at the high end. Rasul alayhi salatu wasalam informed, Ya Rasulullah, the treasures of Bahrain have arrived in Madinatul Munawwara. He said, put them in the masjid. Heaps of gold and silver coins, dirham, dananir and other material. If you and I receive a check, and we know it's a check, we don't leave that envelope for the night. We open it straight away. We probably spent it before we've cashed it. Rasul alayhi salatu was salam said, put it in the masjid. When he came for the prescribed salah time, he performed salah. He stood by this heap of material wealth and distributed every single gold and silver coin and every material asset to any deserving individual and those who had engaged in the battle process. Did not keep anything for himself. In fact, on one occasion, Imam Bukhari rahmatullahi alayhi narrates that he came for the prescribed salah, stood on the musalla, iqamah was being given, then he left, he departed. He departed, he went home and he came back. And he performed the salah, and after salah, Allah bless the companions Ridwanullahi alayhim ajma'een, they had questions that they always posed, and when the Bedouins came, they loved it because the Bedouins asked those questions that they were unable to ask because of the awe that they were overwhelmed with of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Said, Ya Rasulullah, you came, this is abnormal, and you went away and you came back. What happened? He says, it is not allowed for a prophet to sleep whilst there is any money in his house. Allahu Akbar. We can't sleep if there's no money in our house. How distant we have become from the best of creation sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Yet each one of us is hopeful and aspirant and making dua that we will be next to Rasul alayhi salatu wasalam in the day of judgment, on the day of judgment, and in Jannatul Firdaus. Rasul alayhi salatu wasalam's personal behavior, traits as a leader, and his interaction as a leader are 2 points of learning that we need to imbue within ourselves in this month of Rabiul Awwal. On the one side, I said, these companies are twisting the minds of our younger generation because a lot of them are thinking, why do I need an education? The profession now is to become a vlogger or a blogger, to increase the ratings of being an influencer, so that will generate revenue through the advertisements. This is the mindset. Rasul alayhi salatu wasalam's fundamental value, that despite having material wealth at his disposal, he is that person who Aisha Siddiqa radiallahu ta'ala anha narrates, when he was stretching his legs to sleep, it was touching the wall. Then when the day he passed away, said, I had no oil in the lantern to illuminate the room where he was resting and where he was to be buried. I had to borrow the oil to light the lantern in order to illuminate the room. This is who? That same individual who could decide about the treasures of the Arabian Peninsula in Madinatul Munawwara. The fundamental principle that Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam taught us, in an age where 7 trillion US dollars is market value of 5 companies, and this is increasing day by day. Day by day. I've not even mentioned Tesla yet. Are you surprised to learn that one individual can afford, without blinking, to go into space? Just experiment. And when that breaks down and flops, he says, it's okay, we will try again. Allahu Akbar. When we have a high car bill for some car repair work to our engines or tires or whatever, we start scratching our heads. Rasul alayhi salatu wasalam's fundamental principle from beginning to end was never to be compromised on your fundamental principles. What are they? That's what we need to understand. And as far as material wealth was concerned, he taught us, rags and riches story will continue in our lives. What is the purpose of your creation? That's what he told mankind. He left in this world. Sayyidina Umar ibn al-Khattab radiallahu ta'ala came, you will know the story. When he had an issue to deal with, is because he was displeased with his wives for asking for material wealth. And he had taken a space. When nowadays, where you see Rawda Aqdas is just, if you are facing the Qibla orientation, it would be on your left, 11 o'clock from Rawda Aqdas. It's closed off now, but that's where the space was. Umar ibn al-Khattab found out Rasul alayhi salatu wasalam is not happy. He was having a dispute with his wife at home, and he was saying to his wife, "Why are you speaking? What right do you have to speak?" He said, "You are telling me, but your own daughter is contesting things with Rasul alayhi salatu wasalam, the best of creation." He went straight away. And he says to you, "Are you contesting with Rabbul Rahmatul lil Alameen? That is displeased with you?" Umar ibn al-Khattab radiallahu ta'ala, to make Rasul alayhi salatu wasalam feel happy, he visited him. And he said, "Ya Rasulullah, this happened, this happened, this happened, this happened." And he's trying to make him laugh. Then he started crying. "Umar, why are you crying?" He made him smile. The purpose of his visit was achieved. "Umar, why are you crying?" He said, "Ya Rasulullah, you are Rasulullah, Sayyidul Mursaleen wal Awwaleen." He said, "I can see, Ya Rasulullah, the marks on your back of your bedding." He said, "I could see leather straps hanging down. I can see your pillow is full of substances which are not worthy to be within the pillow." Such simple lifestyle. Such simple lifestyle. And you have the riches at your disposal. Rasul alayhi salatu wasalam responded, he says, "Kisra and Qaisar, the rulers of the Persian Empire and the Roman Empire." He said, "Ya Rasulullah," he says, "are you not happy that they have the world and we have the akhirah?" So in this world, brothers, that everybody is being taken in this wave of materialism, ungodly nature. The example of Rahmatul lil Alameen is not just for me and you, for everybody. Just like Rabb is Rabbul Alameen, Rasul is Rahmatul lil Alameen. And when everybody is being taken away in this flood of materialism, the lesson of Rahmatul lil Alameen is, be careful of who you're going to be standing in front of one day. What are you taking for that moment? Sufyan al-Thawri rahmatullahi alayhi is a great jurist. Such a great jurist that his students and the students of Imam Abu Hanifa rahmatullahi alayhi would dispute with each other that my ustaz, my sheikh is better and more learned, has more knowledge than your ustaz and your sheikh. They were both proud to be students of their sheikh. And in their love, immense love for their sheikh and for their teacher, both were contesting. Allah Rabbul Alameen willed that the school of thinking of Imam Abu Hanifa rahmatullah alayhi prevailed to this day of the Muslim community. But Sufyan al-Thawri rahmatullahi alayhi, when he was passing his way away from this world, his family is gathered around him. His beloved daughter is there. And Sufyan al-Thawri is profusely crying. He says, "Father, why are you crying? You're this great scholar. People have benefited from your books, from your knowledge, from your learning circles. Why are you crying?" Others are saying, "Father, Allah will forgive you." I'm not worried about that. I've been teaching all my life people that Allah is Rahman ar-Rahim. I'm very hopeful of Allah's mercy. But the thing I am worried about, this is Sufyan al-Thawri rahmatullahi alayhi, a great Syrian Sham jurist. That's not my concern. My concern is when I close my eye at one end and I open my eye in the next world, will my iman be intact? Where are you and I? In this material world, What is the function of our life? What is the lesson of Rahmatul lil Alameen and our Mashaykh teaching us? How can we avoid getting lost? If today we are seeing these challenges, with all these masajid and all these Darul Ulooms, mashallah, and all these marakis of tabligh, can you imagine what's going to happen in 50 years? Allahu Akbar. Allahu Akbar. Artificial intelligence is just 2-3 years picking up. And look from where we were and where we are. And it's gathering speed. Generative AI and beyond. The challenges that this will pose for the communities are mind-boggling. Rasul alayhi salatu wassalam has informed us there will come a time when the most intelligent one will be impacted and affected, and they will just be so bewildered. What is happening here? Unable to understand. And at those times we need that intuition, that basira, that acumen, where we acquire from the nur of Allah. It's the knowledge of the Quran. Rasul alayhi salatu wasalam had riches of the world at his disposal. Yet at the time of his death, Aisha Siddiqa radiallahu ta'ala anha says, Ma taraka an-nabiyyu sallallahu alayhi wasallam dinaran wala dirhaman wala shatan wala jamalan. So even the poorest person would leave a sheep or something behind. There's nothing. I had to borrow from next door. Allah. This is the example. We're not taking anything with us. Sometime we just need to refocus, realign. Press the reset button. Where am I and what am I going to present to my Creator? One example of a fundamental value, not to be too lost in the rags to riches story. Another example, another great trade of this day and age. Oh, I'm looking at that clock. I should look at that clock. That's a rag to riches story. In today's day and age, who doesn't like looking well? Yeah. Who doesn't like looking good? The story of personal care. It's a global industry worth 800 billion plus pounds. By 2027, it's going to be worth 1 billion plus pounds. Now you do the maths. 8 billion plus people in this world. Some of us look naturally young and others fake to look young. 8 billion people. 1 billion. The focus of people is what we look out on the outside. In the UK, it's worth nearly 3. Allah Akbar. This industry is going up and up and up. Rasul alayhi salatu wassalam taught us it's not the outside that matters, although it should not be neglected. It's the inside that matters. In wealth, he taught us innal ghina ghina nafs. Your wealth is your golden heartedness, in layman's terms. And as far as your beauty is concerned, it's the internal beauty that matters, not your external beauty, not that it should be neglected. Rasul alayhi salatu wassalam, when the companion used to look at him, this was a person, by the way, who Imam Bukhari rahmatullahi alayhi narrates, ما شبع النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم يومين متتابعين من خبز الشعير حتى قبض. Rasul alayhi salatu wasalam did not eat to his fill for 2 sequential days, successive days of his life by the flour of wheat meal, naan, bread or chapati. Lord, in some homes, if there's no naan, bread or chapati on the dinner spread, it's world war. Allahu Akbar. The companions say, we never used to see smoke billowing out of the chimney of Rasul alayhi salatu wasalam from his house, because there was nothing being cooked. Many occasions Rasul alayhi salatu wasalam was enter his home. Is there any food? There's no food. فَإِنِّي أَنَا صَائِمٌ. I'm fasting. Allahu Akbar. The staple diet is aswadain, zamzam and dates. Allahu Akbar. Many occasions he would say he would have vinegar and he would dip that in some bread and he would say ni'mal idam al khal, ni'mal idam al khal. What an excellent soup is vinegar. How many of us in our lifetime have had a meal where we've just dipped bread into vinegar? Vinegar for us is a condiment that is sprinkled over chips and fish. Allahu Akbar. Do we ever think one occasion in my life I'm just going to follow the diet of Rasul alayhi salatu wassalam? The companions of Rasul alayhi salatu wassalam used to come to Rasul alayhi salatu wassalam and plead with him, Ya Rasulallah, I'm in my home, I think of you. I can't get you out of my mind. I'm with my family, I'm thinking of you. I can't get you out of my mind. I am compelled to leave my home and come and see you so that my eyes are satiated, my heart is tranquil, my mind receives its peace, then I go back. But when I go back home, Ya Rasulullah, once again, I'm thinking of you. Ya Rasulullah, I have a question for you. What is your question, O companion? What is your question? Ya Rasulullah, the cure to my illness in this world is I can leave home and come to see you and just see you. When I die, Ya Rasulullah, you're Sayyidul Awwaleen wal Akhirin. You're going to be with the prophets on the day of judgment in Jannatul Firdaus. How are we going to see you? This is who? Companion of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And at that point, the Quran comes with the answer. Because Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam remained quiet until there was no Quranic guidance. So when the guidance came, he said, call the companion. مَن يُطِعِ اللَّهَ وَالرَّسُولِ. He who obeys is obedient to Allah and His Messenger. فَأُولَٰئِكَ مَعَ الَّذِينَ. These will be with those who Allah Rabbul Alameen has bestowed favors upon. مِنَ النَّبِيِّينَ, the prophets, وَالصِّدِّيقِينَ, of the truthful ones, وَالشُّهَدَاء وَالصَّالِحِينَ وَحَسُنَ أُولَٰئِكَ رَفِيقًا. Our ticket to the companionship of Rasul alayhi salatu wassalam is to wholeheartedly, with full conviction, with unflinching commitment, to remain on the pathway of the Rahmatul lil Alameen. That verse should not just be recited from one heard one verse, one ear to the other ear. What is that pathway that we are taking to make sure we are with Rasul alayhi salatu wassalam in the hereafter? That will be our enjoyment. So these companions were crying, Ya Rasulullah, how will we be in Jannah without you? We won't see you in Jannah. What will be our hereafter? What pleasure will there be? Allahu Akbar. We're worried about getting there. This is our thinking, because this material life is pushing us in a certain direction and we need to be pulled back. This was what we called in Urdu language ishq. Ishq. Absolutely besotted with Rasul alayhi salatu wassalam. And they saw the internal beauty. And I mentioned the diet, because somebody who's having all the nutrients, who's having all the vegetables, who's having all the vitamins, their face will be radiant, their muscles will be bulging, they're having the protein. But that individual who is having no food, the skin will shrink. You can tell just by looking, the cheeks will be going inwards. You'll be able to see the bones through the skins. Rasul alayhi salatu wassalam companions say we used to look at him. We used to feel his palms. Anas radiallahu ta'ala, so we used to feel his palms. ما مسست ديباجا ولا حريرا ألين من كف النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم. See, I did not touch the palm of anyone. I did not touch any silk garment. I did not touch any other garment that was softer than the palm of Rasul alayhi salatu wasalam. You touch the palm of a builder and touch the palm of people who are washing dishes all the time and touch the palm of an office worker. You will realize who's really not working. Who's got an office job and who's got an outside job. Rasul alayhi salatu wasalam, in the tough terrain of the Middle East, is a palm resource. When we used to look at his face, this was a radiant face that was full of spiritual illumination. Where did all that come from? The fundamental value that beauty is not the cosmetic industry that we are seeing now. Real beauty is the beauty of inside. And that's the fundamental principle that we should never ever compromise in our life as believers. If we are wanting to be in the companionship of Rasul alayhi salatu wassalam. And that's what our dua should be. Real enjoyment is to see Allah Rabbul Alameen's Noor in Jannatul Firdaus in the companionship of Rasul alayhi salatu wasalam. As I said in the other masjid in Zuhur time, that today we listen to verses of qira'ah from our qurra, but what will be the ambience, what will be the environment, how pleasant it will be, how spiritually illuminating it will be when we listen to the Holy Quran from Rabbul Alameen. So fundamental value of wealth and the fundamental value of beauty. And finally, Rasul alayhi salatu wasalam's diet I just mentioned. His diet was so, what can you describe? How can you describe it? For us it's meaningless. We go to a restaurant and we want starters, we want a main meal, we want drinks, we want our chutney, our papadoms, our condiments, we want our dessert and we want our chai, and then we complain about the bill. We want all of those things. Allahu Akbar. Look at the meal of Rasul alayhi salatu wasalam. I've just described it to you. But despite that, companions say we used to look at the full moon when it waxed and we used to see Rasul alayhi salatu wasalam. In fact, Abu Rafi says, I was one of the negotiators on behalf of the Quraysh for the Treaty of Hudaybiyah, and I had never seen Muhammad bin Abdullah. So I wiggled my way through the crowd just to capture a glimpse of who is Muhammad bin Abdullah. Says, I eventually made it to the front and I asked, who is Muhammad bin Abdullah? He said, I was pointed in that direction. He said, the moment I saw Muhammad bin Abdullah, ulqiya fi qalbi al-Islam. Islam had penetrated in my heart just by looking at his face. He said, I knew Hazal wajhu laysa bi wajhi kadhabi. This is not the face of a liar, an impostor. Allahu Akbar. When the outside people look at our faces as Muslims and believers and followers, and I will go further to say, those who profess to say, I love my Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam dearer to me than anything else in this world, are they saying about us and discussing behind closed doors, this is a community who loves their Prophet. They are not imposters, they're not liars. Are they people who are treacherous, deceitful? Can they be trusted? Rasul alayhi salatu wasalam's fundamental value, principle number 3, that he was called despite no provisions. Khandak is a battle that is well known. And nowadays, there's a professor that I recently met at the Bradford Literary Festival during the summer months, Professor Abdullah, who's written quite a few books. He's written on the Hijrah route that Rasul alayhi salatu wasalam has taken. He's written on the miles system, how they calculated miles in those days. And the latest project is about the Khandaq, the trench, and the engineering behind it. There's a partnership between University of Exeter and Professor Abdullah. Hafiz, Alim, mashallah, PhD, very learned man, love for Seerah, amazing knowledge about the Seerah of Rasul alayhi salatu wasalam. They're looking at the engineering, because the Arabs had no idea about digging trenches. It was the Persian knowledge that came into place by Salman Farsi radiyallahu ta'ala anhu, and the engineering behind it. So what they've done, they sent a drone over it and look at, and it's a bit of a project. Now the book will come out in a couple of years, no doubt, inshallah. But at the time of digging the trench, you go on any construction site, they will have their lunch midday, and they will knock off working at about 4, 5, or 6 o'clock. Rasul alayhi salatu wasalam and his companions, they were empty stomach. And as you know the story, he was called because a boulder had come into place where nobody could break. And Rasul alayhi salatu wasalam with one strike had broken. Where did the strength come from? In Kitabul Maghazi, Imam Bukhari rahmatullah discusses those battles within which Rasul alayhi salatu wasalam participated in. There was a set of battles, Ghazawat, that Rasul alayhi salam participated in. There were other battles where he did not participate. Those he participated in, some say 25, some say 27, some say 29, some have a different figure. Let's take the middle figure of 27. And no battle took place before Madinatul Munawwara Hijri. So between 622 and 632 solar years, common era days, 10 years, he himself participated in 27 battles. Ghazawat. You average that out, brothers, how many per year? Just less than 3. We can't say 2 3/4. Less than 3. Now, you probably know the boxing industry, what's that other one called? Cage fighting industry, that the champions are. How much training do they have to do? AJ recently lost. How much training did he do before he lost? They don't come into the ring unless they have been training for 6 months. And besides that, their food, their diet, their milk, their protein, their cheese, all of these things have to be there. I've just mentioned Rasul alayhi salatu wasalam's diet. Do you find one hadith which says Rasul alayhi salatu wasalam used to continuously do something that a normal habitual gym goer does as for exercise? Allahu Akbar. Khalid ibn al-Walid radiyallahu ta'ala anhu in the battle of Mu'ta, he says, I broke so many swords, some say over 90 and some say over a dozen, until I had the final sword which sheath was that big. Says Muaz, Ja'far ibn Abi Talib radiyallahu ta'ala anhu, says he was martyred. Zayd bin Harisa was martyred. So and so was martyred until Khalid ibn al-Walid radiyallahu ta'ala took leadership. So these people were not in the gym. Where did their strength come from? They had meager diets. Where did this strength come from? It's because this was connected up there. And they had full conviction and love for Rasul alayhi salatu wasalam. They believed in the fundamental principles of Rasul alayhi salatu wasalam. It's not external wealth, it's internal wealth. It's not external beauty, it's internal beauty. It's not external strength, it's internal strength that matters. This is our spirit, our ruh, that we need to connect with Allah. That's where our strength is going to come from. And no matter what age we may pass through in our transitory life on the face of this earth, our soul is connected to Allah. Nothing will deceive us. May Allah Rabbul Alameen grant us the ability to see the truth as it is and follow it. May Allah grant us the ability to recognize falsehood, deceit, lies, treachery, roguishness as they are, and grant us the ability to stay away from it. Wa akhiru da'wana alhamdulillahi rabbil alameen.